Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Andrew, also known as GingerHacker, and I'm so excited to have with us on today Alex Riles with who is the CISO SVP with MicroAge. Now, Alex, you've been in cyber for a little over, I'd say, a decade or two. So I'm going to pass it to you for a quick introduction.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you for the invite to be on your channel. I really appreciate it. Um, so I'm currently at MicroAge. We're an IT reseller and service provider. I wear lots of hats there. I'm a CISO internally, but externally, I also focus on our cybersecurity sales organizations. We sell about 80 different cybersecurity products and technologies to our clients. I also own our services business, so we provide a lot of security related services to our clients as well. It's been a lot of fun.
No, Alex, fantastic. And I'm so excited to have you on the channel. So thank you for also coming on. And we will go ahead and get started. So the first question we ask everyone that jumps on is cybersecurity. So way back when, back in school, we had our career days, we had our teachers have to ask us to draw pictures of what we wanted to be when we grew up. And we picked doctors, lawyers, firefighters, veterinary and astronauts. But obviously, you and I got into cybersecurity. Can you kind of explain that process of what that journey looked like and how did you break into cyber?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think when I was in third grade, any picture I would have drawn probably had an airplane in it. So I wanted to be a fighter pilot for the military. That was sort of my goal way back then. Obviously, things don't always work out the way you want them to. My eyesight kind of kicked me out of any aspirations of being a military aviation pilot. So, I had a deep interest through high school in technology. And so that led me to a computer science background in college. And I really didn't know what I wanted to do, to be honest with you. So, like most people, I took the first career opportunity I could get, which was with FedEx as a system administrator. And the more I learned about operating systems and networking and that sort of thing at FedEx, it led me to the reseller community. And I went to work for a relatively small IT reseller called Pepperweed Consulting. We were in the HP software space, but I spent about 10 years there. And from there, I learned how to deliver technology solutions to our clients. I learned all about networking and computers and software you install and software distribution of technology. It was a really great experience for me. Still didn't know much about cyber at that point. So we sold that business to a big global IT distributor called Avnet. And distributors distribute IT technology to resellers who then sell to clients. And so from that perspective, I was able to learn a little bit more about the IT space and HP and laptops and servers and storage and all sorts of great IT technologies. And that's where security came in. They actually asked me to help build a cybersecurity business for Avnet. And this is back when security products were really starting to become popular and sell in volume. And so I decided to build a business for them around security product resell. And that led into a couple other acquisitions and bigger distributors. And they kept asking me to grow a bigger and bigger business. And ultimately, I ended up at TD SYNNEX running their global cybersecurity business, which was about selling to maybe 20,000 IT resellers like I'm at now at MicroAge. And we resold about 250 cybersecurity vendor products, Palo Alto and
Oh, wow.
CrowdStrike and Cisco and all the main ones you've heard about. So, $4.5 billion business unit I had there selling cybersecurity technology through the reseller community to help customers. So that was a wonderful experience. And that was about 10 years of my life in distribution, learning cybersecurity. And from there, I'd been at a customer, FedEx. I'd been at a reseller at Pepperweed. I'd been at a distributor, Avnet, Tech Data, and TD SYNNEX. I'd never been at a vendor or supplier. So that was kind of the fourth leg of the chair when it comes to the channel ecosystem. And so I decided to go to Ping Identity and run their global channels because Ping is a cybersecurity vendor. So sticking with my theme, I ran the channel organization for Ping Identity for several years, and that was great fun, learning all about the identity space, which was an area of security I honestly didn't know a whole lot about when I joined the company. After that, I jumped over to MicroAge to run their cybersecurity business and ultimately, unexpectedly, to be asked to be their CISO, which worked out great for me. And I've been there for several years now and really having a great time. So, you never start where you think where you're going to end up. And I kind of found my way into security. If I knew then what I knew now, I would have probably been a little more intentional about it. But I'm very happy with where I ended up.
It's so interesting, and I tell this to folks that like kind of either start at sales or do the marketing side when I go to conferences, and you might get a kick out of this. It's just like, and you'll understand what I mean, where I'll go up to a sales team and I'm like, "Oh, so like you do sales for this company, you're in tech." "Well, I'm not really in tech. I'm just part of the sales team." I'm like, but you have to know what your vendor product is doing. And if you have an organization with a certain network or framework that's coming up to you asking about, hey, what can your product do for my environment? You have to have that like 1 inch depth still to have like that start. And I think from you, Alex, from kind of hearing that background, it's like you got to get like you started probably at that inch, but then like you hit like an 8 foot like deep end and just really went wide out and learned all the tools to kind of come full circle into getting to manage some of the security teams and kind of like building up those what that looks like for a real selling aspect of like, hey, what does the company need if I come to you, Alex, and say, hey, what tools do I need to protect my environment? And I think for that background is that's a fantastic way that I think a lot of folks don't consider going if they think I want to break into cyber. They think I need to go be a pen tester. I need to go into the SOC or I need to go into help desk. So kind of pivoting to a quick question. I mean, do you think that if someone wanted to break into cyber, like would that be a means of like when it comes into like the marketing side or going into the pre-sales or sales or coming in through a vendor route? I think, and I know we've talked about this offline, obviously, but that's honestly a great way too to kind of get in to really understand an environment. Am I wrong?
No, you're exactly right. I think there's three large paths you can take. You can go gain your skills by going and working for a customer who needs to secure themselves, and you could be part of that equation. There's lots of jobs you might could have inside that client. You could be a system administrator. You could be a SOC analyst if they're big enough to have their own SOC. You could be a pen tester if they're big enough to have an internal red team. So you could go to a customer who needs to secure themselves and have a blue team experience defending that customer, or you can go to a vendor or supplier, a manufacturer who makes security technology, and you could learn all about the technology by being the one who's building it, or maybe you're in the pre-sales team and you're out there selling to the customer who needs to secure themselves. And every day you're pitching them, teaching them how to be secure using their technology. That's a wonderful way to go. And the third route is you could be a reseller like MicroAge, where you're sitting between the customer and the supplier. You're the one who's buying from the supplier and turning around and selling to the customer. So we're not just selling Ping Identity or CrowdStrike or SentinelOne. We're also providing services around it. So at a
Mhm.
reseller like me, you could either be a salesperson who sells security to a customer, or you could be pre-sales that helps a customer figure out which of the 2,000 security vendors they need to buy, or you could be in the services part of the business where you're the one going on site and actually installing, configuring, managing, and supporting that technology. So there's three big kind of paths you could take. And I took all three, by the way, at different points in my career. But starting in any one of the three is a great place to start.
No, and I think that's going to lead into our next question perfectly. And this is that chicken before the egg question. So, a lot of folks have that same kind of push when they're trying to break into cyber. It's that education, experience, and certifications. And I think I know where you're going to rank the three, but I'm just out of curiosity. Where do you rank the three and why?
This was real easy for me. So, I would say I rank experience. Let's say that these three items were in a list of 1 to 10. Number one would be experience. Number seven would be certification. Number 10 would be education. So
I
that's how
like that.
different the
I like
disparity
that a lot.
between experience and certification is. Honestly, I think certifications are a really good thing if you're new in your career and you need a way to differentiate from everyone else. Certifications provide a great way to do that. And so I'm not against certifications at all. But the truth is, I'm going to train you for what I need you to do in the job I hire you for anyway.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
so a certification just checks a box that, okay, I don't have to train you from zero. You at least something, the terminology, you know what the book says. The reality is what the book says is rarely the way it works in real life. And so I'm going to have to teach you with experience how it really works. And
Have
so
have you heard the term, Alex?
education,
Sorry to
kind of
interrupt.
the same.
Have you heard the term like letter of the law, spirit of the law? And it's
Oh
like
yeah.
there's that book answer, then there's like the other answer that you do like, well, the book says it this way, but then like once you actually get into an environment, like this is how you're actually going to do it. I nail on the head what you said, where it's like the certs kind of show you understand like the acronyms, the terms, but it's just like once you actually get into a certain role, spot on. Like most organizations are going to say, hey, we understand you learned it this way in school. We understand you learned it through this certification, but this is the way or how we do things, or this is our SOP, or how we're kind of going through these certain procedures. So just nail on the head real
Yeah.
quick. Wanted to say good call.
Years ago, I built the first and only to this day cyber range at TD SYNNEX. It's a place of learning and selling and all kinds of things, and it's a lot of fun. And we would get a lot of schools come in and do tours, and we'd help educate and train. And one of the things I would tell them is, honestly, engineers don't make the best cybersecurity people. They do if you're going to go install a firewall. An engineer is great at that because there's a prescriptive set of steps. Do this, this, this. You'll always get outcome X. The firewall works. But if you're looking at a security analyst, a SOC analyst, a pen tester, honestly, engineers don't make great security analysts. And the reason is because hackers don't behave the way you think they're going to. The book is going to say, here's the MITRE attack framework, and here's how a hacker is going to behave. But hackers, by definition, are outside the box thinkers. And engineers typically think inside the box. They follow steps 1, 2, 3 to always get an output. And so I like to hire people sometimes in the security industry that aren't necessarily engineers. Maybe I'm hiring a creative minded person from a creative, like art people who have hobbies in art or theater make amazing SOC analysts because their brain thinks creatively, not structured. And so, I would recommend that if you're coming from an engineering background, there's a lot of cyber jobs that are great for you. If you're coming from a background outside of engineering, you can still play in the security realm. There's lots of great jobs that we need people with creative mindset in order to fulfill.
No, that actually leads us perfectly into our third question, kind of is finding the right role and kind of filling the right role. And being at all the levels you've seen, I know you've seen multiple resumes come across your desk. So I
Mhm.
kind of want to target this one maybe for more for my senior mid-level folks that are getting ready for that next step in their journey in management, where being ready to become a CISO. So obviously a lot of managers look for that next step, or hey, what's the pipeline should be going? What are some things I should be really focusing on? So when you've sat on that board, or maybe that hiring that next director or that next senior SOC manager, or even for folks wanting to be that next CISO, what are some things that you think they can do to really stand out on their resume or being the best candidate for that senior role?
Yeah, let's back into this question. So let's think about what the CISO needs to do, and then we'll back into what the skills you need to have. Ultimately, part of the biggest part of a CISO's job is number one, compliance related things. So most companies now, because of cyber insurance requirements, are requiring companies to prove that you are following certain security controls. You have multi-factor authentication enabled in your environment, or you have policy documents written. And so there's a governance risk compliance component to being a CISO that is a very large component. So I'm looking for people who have a background helping manage security controls. Maybe they've used compliance tools like Drata or Vanta, and they understand the language of cybersecurity frameworks. They can actually have a conversation with me about what a NIST cybersecurity framework is, or if you sell to the federal government, what is CMMC, or what is CIS. So conversational in that is super important. So any job that gives experience with that's very important. The second thing a CISO does a lot of is evaluate product to buy. So you need to make sure that all your windows and doors in the castle are secured. And so to do that, you need all sorts of security products. You need endpoint security and identity access management, privileged access management, blah, blah, the list goes on. And so someone who's coming from a background selling technology, doing pre-sales, selling technology, who has or worked in big companies with exposure to a lot of different tool sets, that's great background to be a CISO, because ultimately it's your job to pick the right technology, and they all need to integrate well together and ultimately roll up potentially into a SIM or a SOC. So that would be that would be another important aspect. So tools and understanding of tool architecture. And the third component that takes up a large majority of a CISO's time is incident response. So when an incident happens, not if, it does happen, and it could be
Hmm.
small. It could be a threat actor takes over a mailbox, or it could be big. It could be ransomware. It could be anything else. So you need to really have a good handle on how do you respond? What are you going to do? Be a good leader in orchestrating that. So background is being like a director of security or even a security analyst or administrator where you're the one having to do a lot of the response actions. So you really understand what a threat response looks like. That kind of background would also play well to ultimately be a CISO. So those three responsibilities, there's many more, obviously, responsibilities of a CISO, but I think about picking the tools, I think about incident response, I think about GRC and compliance being the three big buckets. So any job that gives you those skills and you can put those three things on your resume, that's going to make a really great candidate for a CISO.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, you kind of mentioned it, just well rounded, being able to understand and kind of take it the whole picture of what an organization needs to secure itself with, whether that's DLP, network, the mailbox, having the right team, having the right resources, I think is huge. And I think just like you mentioned before, having a manager that kind of knows how to handle those incidents, be clear and concise on its communication, 100% is exactly what you need. So fantastic. Well,
Yeah,
Alex, we
one
have,
more thought on that, Andrew, before you move on.
yeah.
Um, Sometimes if before you get a big CISO job, there's smaller CISO jobs like a fractional CISO or sometimes we call them a virtual CISO. If you can hire on with a company that has a network of virtual CISOs and you can take on managing smaller clients just to gain experience, you're giving them 10 hours a month, 20 hours a month or something like that. You're doing light work, you're helping them pick some tools, you're answering some questions, gives you plenty of time to do research between your interactions with the customer. That's a great way to build CISO experience so that then you can go get a main job at a bigger customer or bigger company. Just a thought I'll throw out there. A lot of times people overlook that function or that role.
Do you know how someone would, I guess, go about looking for that thesis kind of role? Is that something where you set to like kind of like do a Google search, jump on LinkedIn, look for small startups, or I mean, if you have any insight, I guess, like how would they find those kind of those
Yeah.
VCISO titles?
So the easiest way to do it is Google for managed security service providers, top managed security service providers, any of those words. Most of the top MSSPs will offer a virtual CISO service, and they're always looking for new CISOs to add to their network. So what they do, they're usually 299 contractors, not W2 employees, and they'll have a network of maybe 3, 4, 5 CISOs, and then they'll just sign them out to several of their clients. So you might start out with one, and over time they might load you up with 2 or 3 clients, and you're just jumping between them throughout the month, and you're billing hours, and then you're turning in your hours to the MSSP, and then they'll bill their client for it. So just search for managed security service provider. Most of them will have a virtual CISO service.
Oh, that's good. That's actually really good information to know. So I know I've had a few of my buddies that want to go that route. It's like, yeah, I just need to find a place that will do it. So that's a fun fact. I'm going to make sure that goes in the comments below. So make sure you guys know that out. Well, Alex, this has been fantastic. I only have two more questions for you, actually. And these are pretty fun and probably my most favorite to ask. So, first off, thank you so much for coming on. And as a thank you to everyone that comes onto the channel, beginning giving you some awesome GingerHacker swag for coming onto the channel as a huge thank you. But I guess the next question I have for you is kind of a more unplug. The day is done, computers get shut off. What do you like to do to relax and kind of unplug and kind of take a break from cybersecurity?
Yeah, so I mentioned that when I was in third grade and someone asked me what I wanted to be, it was a military aviator. I am now a pilot, and so I have an airplane. It's a Mooney Bravo for any of you out there who know what airplanes are. Four-seater, single engine. It's decked out in full digital cockpit and goes up to 25,000 feet. So it's a traveling plane. So my wife and I like to travel around a lot on the weekends and go to nearby cities. I live in Birmingham, Alabama, but we'll go within a state or two and have dinner. We go down to the beach a lot and have seafood for lunch and come back on a Saturday or so.
Ah, that's so
Usually on the
cool.
weekends, you'll find me at the airport.
Man, that's fantastic. How long did it take you to get your pilot license, if I can ask?
Oh, so I got my license in 2003 originally. It took me about 9 months to get my
That's not
license. I
bad.
was working full time, and so I can only fly twice a week usually. So the length of time really depends on how much time you put into it. It takes about 40 to 80 hours of flight time. If you fly 3 or 4 times a week, you can do it in 40 hours. If you fly once a week, it's going to take you 80. So just because the repetition, it needs to be there. So that was for my private, and then later it's another at least that long to get your instrument rating, which I did many years later.
Very cool. Do you have if you could fly your dream plane, what would be the plane of choice?
So if we're sticking to four-seater piston single engine planes, it'd be a Cirrus SR-22. It's really awesome. It's got a parachute on it, so it's safe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, if you're talking really what my dream, if I had unlimited funds, it'd be also a Cirrus, but they have a Vision jet. It's the only single engine personal jet in the market. It seats about 6 people, seven with a young child, and so it's not very large, but it goes from A to B really fast and very
Nice.
high. So if I had my druthers, it'd be a Cirrus Vision jet for sure.
No, fantastic, Alex. And I mean, I think you and I both know, at least within cybersecurity too, having these hobbies outside of cyber are very huge, prevents burnout, gets you a good time to relax, unwind, kind of take off the heavy shoulder pads of a heavy, hectic work week, whether that's dealing with an incident, dealing with procurement, dealing with sales. So I think that's actually really cool. I've contemplated trying to go get my pilot license. So it's always been like a second thought. So I don't know. We'll have to see what happens in the next few years. Because
Whatever your
I
hobby is, whether it's aviation or golf or anything else, intentionality is important, especially as you get farther in your career and your days get busier. Today, this is hour 12 for me today because I had to start early and just meetings all day. You have to be intentional about personal time or you will burn out, right? And so I'm just intentional about aviation. I study it every night before bed and fly most weekends. So it's all intentionality.
No, awesome, Alex. Well, everyone, before we leave, thank you so much for coming to this another amazing episode of Breaking into Cyber. Make sure you drop a like, hit the subscribe button. And Alex, before we go, can you give us the last piece of advice that you'd give someone trying to break into cyber?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say build at home. So the best security people I know have done it in their house. So like I have this crazy network here with Fortinet firewalls and Ubiquity Wi-Fi and all sorts of things. And it's taken me years to build equipment, and I swap the equipment out every couple of years. But if you really want to impress someone to get a cybersecurity job, especially in the first few years of your career, one of my favorite interview questions I always ask is, what have you done at home technology-wise? Have you integrated your home lighting system to some audio voice activation? How have you integrated, built an AI agent and connected it to something in your home, like your sprinkler system? Like, just be creative and build something at home. Build your own custom network attached storage device, a NAS device. Whatever it is, doesn't matter. Try to deploy Kali Linux on a Raspberry Pi. There's a million little projects. I care less what it is, but the fact that you're doing it, because if you're interested in doing it at home on your personal time, that shows me you're going to be really good at doing it in your work time.
Amazing, Alex. Great advice. Excellent conversation. And another huge thank you for coming onto the channel. So, everyone, that's been another amazing episode of Breaking into Cyber. And thank you so much to Alex with MicroAge for coming on today. So, please like, comment, subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next video.